Today, America alone has more public relations propagandists than reporters, which means that nearly half of what people in the West hear, see, or read is written by professional liars. Professional liars whose job it is to keep people in front of their televisions, reading gossip magazines, eating vast amounts of toxic food, and shopping, always shopping, for the latest fashions and trends. That's the ideal for propagandists. And great efforts are made in trying to achieve and maintain that ideal. Anything that keeps the masses from organizing themselves and asking important questions about what their masters are really up to. The 1960s, a period of heightened awareness and rebellion against the establishment, with students leading the resistance. But when the situation seems to be getting out of hand, the establishment ordered it to be stopped, and the propagandists moved quickly to lead the young people away from dangerous protests into such fashionable protests. That was then. This is now. Fashion, celebrity, sex, music, technology, any kind of revolution except the social revolution. In this film, we will reveal the methods used by the propagandists to control populations on behalf of their owners. Although these rich and powerful owners only make up 1% of the world's population, they have mastered the use of propaganda over 99% of the world's population, turning them into consumer slaves who work harder and harder to buy things they don't need. These consumer slaves are also made to pay taxes to their government, money which is used to develop new weapons for the pernicious invasions and occupations of other countries. In the last 5 years alone, they've given their owners more than $1 trillion for these illegal and immoral wars that can't be won, and are even encouraged to send their own children to fight them. Has this man just broken a world record? Has he just created a medicine that can save thousands of lives? Perhaps he's been chosen to represent his community in some way. No, this man has just purchased a telephone. And these people, what is making them scream and cry with such profound joy? They are on a television program where they are receiving consumer items. This for some boots. This for some clothes shelves. And this hysteria is not because they have found God, but because they are receiving sneakers. The propagandist knows that an individual has a natural desire to be on a winning side and appear to fit in with the crowd. One of the easiest ways to achieve this is to make them chant favorable, yet deliberately vague slogans like, "This changes everything."
This is going to change everything.
Just do it. I'm loving it. Or support our troops. The point of slogans like support our troops is that they don't mean anything. That's the whole point of good propaganda. You want to create a slogan that nobody's going to be against and everybody's going to be for. Nobody knows what it means because it doesn't mean anything. Points out Professor Noam Chomsky. With this in mind, propagandists can provide simple answers to complex problems and ask for approval without question.
Either you're with us, either you love freedom, or you're with the enemy.
They can use this method to sell phones, violence, cosmetics, or even false wars, like the unwinnable war on terror announced by these degenerates, and the hypocritical war on drugs announced by this master criminal, who is awarding a medal to this man for joining the war on drugs, despite this man being a drug addict. The most popular slogans contain virtue words that embody what slaves in the West have been conditioned to value most dearly. Words like freedom, truth, peace, liberty, and most importantly, democracy. The 20th century has been characterized by three developments of great political importance: the growth of democracy, the growth of corporate power, and the growth of corporate propaganda as a means of protecting corporate power against democracy. Writes Howard Zinn. Let's look at that last line again. The growth of corporate propaganda as a means of protecting corporate power against democracy. Is this true? Let's look at the facts.
Killed. But your government has...
Since 1945, America has tried to overthrow 50 governments, many of them democracies. In the process, over 30 countries and their people have been attacked. Including our own great and powerful socialist sovereign nation. And the result? Not one single undemocratic country has been turned into a genuine democracy.
Open the door! Get your hands up and come outside.
Yes, sir. Yeah, clear the house now.
The grotesque act of invading other countries, claiming them as your territory, and stealing their resources to keep your emperor, crown, or corporate owners in power used to be known as empire building. The latest propaganda slogan for empire building is globalization, a vague word with warm connotations of unification. But what it really means is the acquisition of other people's resources at any cost, and unlimited slave labor. Slave labor needed to produce the unnecessary goods sold to these slaves. Slaves to persuasion and influence. In reality, these are debt slaves, since they can't even afford the things they buy. Even in times of peril and economic meltdown, at the orders of their president, they must keep consuming. Is this democracy?
2003년 2월 15일
On February 15, 2003, millions of people worldwide took to the streets in the world's largest ever day of protest, a protest against the pirate Bush regime and their British and Australian lapdogs who wanted to go to war on manufactured grounds. The majority of the world voted against this war, but were ignored. Is this democracy? The powerful 1% went ahead with their pre-planned war, as always, using the poorest people's children to do the fighting.
We're here for your freedom! So back up right now!
It's important to note that these cowards were happy to order mass death and destruction, despite never having been in battle themselves. Is this democracy? No. Real democracy is when the majority of people make a decision and it's upheld. For example, in polls taken throughout the world, the vast majority of citizens want to see these war criminals committed to stand trial for crimes against humanity. Since 90% of the casualties of their false war on terror were innocent civilians. War on terror is a vague propaganda slogan, as a real war on terror would include direct intervention in Darfur, Myanmar, and Zimbabwe, where Robert Mugabe has made a mockery of the Americans' claim to love democracy. A real war on terror would start with American citizens refusing to pay taxes that support Israel's illegal occupation of Palestine. Taxes that could be used to help Americans who are unemployed, working without health care, and homeless. Of course, if you dared to point this out in America, you would be named anti-American and a traitor, or one of those who hate freedom. So people keep quiet because they are afraid of expressing how they feel. You've got to keep them pretty scared, because unless they're properly scared and frightened that all sorts of devils are going to destroy them from outside or inside or somewhere, they may start to think, which is very dangerous, because they're not competent to think. Therefore, it's important to distract them and marginalize them. Points out Professor Noam Chomsky. Before you can distract and marginalize them, however, you first have to know what motivates them.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
Although the psychopath makes up less than 5% of the Western population, those infected with narcissism and unusual intelligence force their way into the 1% who rule over the masses. Drawn to politics and big business, they are strongly against democracy. Because in a true democracy, these treacherous monsters would be impeached and sentenced to death for lying, fraud, treason, race hate, mass murder, and war crimes. But impeachment is not acceptable, declared this smiling new president, who came to power in 2009. Why? Because he is one of them. His advisors are drawn from the same gang of Washington thugs and Wall Street banksters as the so-called opposition. His presidency was paid for by the same lobbyists and corporations that sponsored all of the other presidents before him. Here we see the most obvious lie in democracy, the one that two candidates represent a choice when they are clearly run by the same interests. There's actually a single-party system in the United States, a Demo-Republican Party, under the guise of two parties, Democrat and Republican. No matter which of the two you vote for, you vote for the Demo-Republican Party. This was said by a conservative ideologue, R. Ridger.
This time, vote like your whole world depended on it.
Allowing people to vote for one of your brands is the best way to make them feel like they are connected to their candidate and involved in a democracy. When they become wary or distrustful of one candidate, you give them a completely new smiling face and simple slogans like, "Yes, we can," and "Time for change," that are easy to chant and provide hope, but are essentially meaningless. Meaningless because this charming president will do exactly what he is told to do by his corporate masters. Spending countless billions on killing humans in faraway lands, while his own people continue to suffer. Democracy is just a slogan. It is a remarkable fact that modern propaganda began with the British, who established a secret war propaganda bureau in 1914 in order to sway American public opinion and gain sympathy for the Allied cause. It was headed by George Creel, who described it as a vast enterprise in salesmanship, the world's greatest adventure in advertising.
그의 가장 최우선의 임무는
His immediate job was to convince the pacifist American people that a war some 4,000 miles away was worth fighting, even though American soil was not threatened. Hollywood helped this cause by exploiting a weekly film audience of 80 million with titles such as The Hun Within, The Kaiser, The Beast of Burden, and The Claws of the Hun, which all suggested that the German threat was right on American soil.
선전하는 것으로 이 공작에 협조하였다.
The process worked so well that Americans learned to hate German civilians almost as much as the targeted German government. And just 6 months after his re-election, on a stay out of the war pledge, President Woodrow Wilson declared war on Germany.
And a League of Nations.
Austro-Hungarian. 1 week later, the US set up its own propaganda organization, the Committee on Public Information, which became so successful that it continues to this day as the United States Information Agency.
영국이 평화 상태에서는 프로파간다를 금지하는 동안
While the British abandoned propaganda in peacetime, the Americans maintained its use under the leadership of Creel Commission psychologist Edward Bernays.
그는 미국의 대중 의견은 반드시 사회 내 소수
who argued that American public opinion must be engineered from above by society's few masters,
주장하였다. 1% 집단,
the 1%,
오합 지졸들을
to control the rabble.
나치 선전부 장관
Meanwhile, Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels was openly thanking the British and Americans for their propaganda model
독일 인민이
and put it to good use for rallying the German people to war.
활용하였다.
Wenn nötig, totaler und radikaler, als wir ihn uns überhaupt erst vorstellen können.
역사적 자료들을 보면 괴벨이
Historical documents prove that Goebbels ordered stormtroopers to burn down the German Reichstag, which he blamed on the communists.
명령하였다는 것을 증명하고 있다. 이 사건들은
This had the desired effect of frightening the population. Who surrendered their civil rights and enabled the Nazis to swiftly transform Germany from republic to fascist state and launch World War II.
미국 대중과 의회는
For the second time, the American public and Congress were overwhelmingly against entering the war in Europe.
Another war, not for me. This time America should keep out, and I know I will. If war breaks out in Europe, I think that this country should heed the advice of its first president and avoid all foreign entanglements. In the event of war in Europe, I think we should stay out of it entirely.
프랭클린 루즈벨트 대통령은
So, President Franklin Roosevelt needed something that could provoke Hitler into declaring war on the US and frighten the public into action.
Which will live in infamy.
그래서 그는
He did this by deliberately failing to warn his fleet commanders that a surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor was imminent.
그에게 경고는
The
영국,
warnings came to him from the governments of Britain, Australia, and the Soviet Union, and are now a matter of public record.
문건으로 분류되어 있다. 우리 조선은 미국인들에게 위험을 알린
We in Korea were among the first to alert the Americans because we know better than anyone what the vicious Japanese are capable of.
알고 있었기 때문이다.
Was slaughtered by Japanese troops.
More power to you, President Roosevelt. The entire country's behind you, thrilled with hope and patriotism.
프로파간다를 이용하여
As if using
자국 내
propaganda to send their pacifist population to war wasn't bad enough,
어떻게 나치를 멸망시킨
consider how America repaid its people for defeating the Nazis.
주었는지를 보면 그리 나쁘지만도 않은 것이었다. 종이 클립
Operation Paperclip.
종이 클립 작전이란
Operation Paperclip was the safe transfer of Nazi scientists and operatives into the CIA. Nazis like Josef Mengele, the infamous Angel of Death, who carried out live experiments on humans in the death camps. These death industry pros were given new identities as US citizens and employed in US laboratories to develop a dazzling array of mind control programs for the CIA, as well as new products and ideas for US biochemical warfare expansion.
Ultimately, they discovered LSD. All of that drug stuff.
General Electric, DuPont,
Not only did companies like General Electric, DuPont, Ford, and Bell help with Operation Paperclip, but so did Americans like Prescott Bush, the patriarch of the presidents George Bush.
국립문서고와 의회 도서관에 있는 문서를
Documents in the National Archives and Library of Congress show that he committed treason continuously between 1924 and 1951.
첫 번째는
First, by using Jewish slave labor in collusion with the Nazis, and then by bringing those Nazis and their assets into America. Despite being a traitor to his country, this Nazi collaborator became a senator, and his family has assumed great power in America. But they are not the only fascist family to thrive from tyranny against humanity. Court records show that the Rockefeller Standard Oil Company was selling more oil to Hitler's war effort than to the Allies. And for this, a federal judge ruled John D. Rockefeller committed treason against the United States. Treason, the most heinous crime of all. Prior to World War II, this man joined fellow traitor Prescott Bush and the British royal family in sponsoring the eugenics initiatives that gave rise to Hitler's racial hygiene programs. Horrifyingly, today, the Rockefeller family, the UN, and World Health Organization remain at the forefront of administering population programs designed to reduce world populations to more manageable levels. One can only imagine what terrible ideas these monsters have in store for us. To understand how Rockefeller avoided being punished for treason, we need to go back to World War I, when Germany was winning the war without a single shot being fired on German soil. David Ben-Gurion, the head of a powerful group of Zionists and the American Rothschild family, approached the British with the promise to bring the Americans into the war. In return, they wanted Palestine. The British agreed to this land theft and, at the cost of American lives and money which has never been repaid, they signed the Balfour Declaration, which was addressed to Lord Rothschild from the British government, promising Palestine to the Rothschild Zionists as a national home for Jews. This is both sinister and unnecessary, since Jews lived peacefully for thousands of years amidst the Arab majorities in the Middle East and had no desire to steal their land. The Zionist collaboration with the British worked. Germany went from winning the war to capitulating and signing the Versailles Treaty at, where else, the Rothschilds' palace. Palestine was then declared a British mandate, and the Zionists were able to swiftly colonize Palestine after the Second World War. On May 14, 1948, after Rockefeller leaned on smaller countries in the UN to vote Israel into the United Nations, Israel declared its independence from British mandate.
Today, the British mandate over the land of Israel ends. We declare a Jewish state in the ancient land of Israel. It will be called the State of Israel.
And 1 year later had claimed 78% of Palestine, despite only owning 6% of it. The first Prime Minister of Israel was Zionist David Ben-Gurion, who employed Reuters, which was owned by the Rothschild Zionist organization, to start an enormous propaganda campaign, which continues to this day. Once Israel was established with UN approval, and the world was sold on the fairy tale of Jews finally returning to Israel,
David Ben-Gurion
started a campaign of ethnic cleansing.
우리는 저들의 나라를 차지했다.
We have taken their country. We must do everything to ensure they never return. We must use terror, assassination, intimidation, land confiscation, and the cutting of all social services to rid the Galilee of its Arab population. David Ben-Gurion, 1948. For over 6 decades, Israel has tenaciously pursued this hateful agenda of colonization, ethnic cleansing, murder, terrorism, land theft, and cultural genocide with great success, thanks to American taxpayers who give $3 billion in direct economic and military assistance each year. It is widely understood that this money is currently being used to build this apartheid wall that costs an estimated $1 million per mile. Apartheid is a crime against humanity. Israel has deprived millions of Palestinians of their liberty and property and perpetuated a system of gross discrimination. Nelson Mandela. Israel has become Nazi Germany, destroying their victims' land, confiscating their property, putting them in concentration camps, even stamping numbers on their hands, a practice that led to Yafa Yarkoni, holder of the Israel Prize, to speak out. The occupied territories should be given back, and that's it. We should learn from the Holocaust not to abuse and humiliate other peoples. Yafa Yarkoni is talking about Article 49 of the Geneva Convention, which says that no state may put its own civilians as settlers into occupied territories. Settlers and settlement are, of course, propaganda phrases that evoke legitimate and comforting feelings of finding a home. However, as acclaimed journalist Robert Fisk writes in his novel, The Great War for Civilization, the far more disturbing and far more accurate word for Israel's land grabbing in the West Bank and Gaza since 1967 is colonizing. Settlers are colonists. So why doesn't the world condemn Israel and demand its withdrawal from the occupied territories? Why is America the only country still fervently supporting Israel and its policies? Nobel Peace Prize winner Bishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa observes that the Israeli government is placed on a pedestal in the US, and to criticize it is to be immediately dubbed anti-Semitic. People are scared in the US to say wrong is wrong, because the Jewish lobby is powerful, very powerful. The most important propaganda victory for Israel has been selling the idea that it is the victim and the Palestinians are the terrorists. They do this by controlling the media. According to Israeli Holocaust historian Yehuda Bauer, the Holocaust is constantly exploited to deflect criticism of Israel and its own immoral policies. Hardly a month goes by without a new TV production, a new film, a new drama, new books, prose or poetry dealing with the subject. And the flood is increasing rather than abating. Professor Yehuda Bauer. The reality is that America's relationship with Israel could not withstand public scrutiny. which would quickly expose Israel not as a victim, but the most powerful country in the Middle East. It is the world's fourth largest nuclear power and the fifth largest arms producer. It possesses nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons, but thanks to America, has never signed a non-proliferation treaty or agreed to international inspection. It is also an occupying power in a stolen land that is not held accountable for its actions by anyone.
Watched with his own eyes.
Anything that's mobile, that moves in the zone, even if it's a 3-year-old, needs to be killed. This was said by an Israeli army officer who was acquitted of any wrongdoing after shooting 13-year-old schoolgirl Iman Al-Hams 17 times. After confirming the kill to his soldiers, he emptied a full magazine into her head. The world never finds out about these things because Israel doesn't allow it. It calls itself a democracy, but uses a type of propaganda called censorship, where certain phrases and words are not allowed. Journalists are not allowed to use the word Palestine. It's the terrorist infrastructure. These territories are not occupied, they are disputed. These are not humans seeking freedom from oppression, they are terrorists. This is not an apartheid wall, it's a security barrier. This is not assassination and murder, it is pacification. This is not state-sanctioned terror, it is self-defense.
This
is all part of a carefully orchestrated plan to dehumanize their victims. A tool learned from what the Nazis did to Jews, homosexuals, gypsies, and the mentally diminished.
Television,
far more seductive than opium, infinitely more effective at shaping behavior and expectations than alcohol and religion. Television is the most powerful weapon of psychological warfare in history. Consumer slaves in the West schedule their lives and relationships around watching television. They use it as a babysitter for their youth and wake up to this drug, consume it whenever possible during the day, and go to sleep with it. They even take it with their meals. Television, or TV as they call it in the West, doesn't kill. It pacifies, turning viewers into compliant zombies. They wear a vacant, glassy-eyed look on their faces because they are in a trance-like state. This is ideal. Now the consumer is sitting still and ready for indoctrination. No force is necessary here. He is a willing participant. It is no mistake that happiness in the West peaked in the 1950s.
Manipulate them in the interest.
Before television was used to enforce capitalism's consumer message. The message that you are not happy. Not unless you buy this product. Look like this person. Or drink this beverage. The West calls these images advertising. Advertising is both propaganda and propaganda distributor. Advertising is about hawking product and creates artificial needs, since most products are completely unnecessary.
Your favorite music?
Advertising unashamedly fosters unhappiness with oneself and with one's possessions. In fact, the very purpose of advertising is to open up emotional vulnerabilities and make people feel that without this product, they are defective.
You need to protect your skin, you need to hydrate your skin, you need to moisturize your skin, and you need to repair your skin.
Corporations employ psychologists, writers, and filmmakers to sell what is essentially the same product. A certain toothpaste, for instance, claims to have a feeling of freshness. This one claims to have dazzling strips of whitening ability, while this one is for people who claim to have teeth so sensitive that it feels like they've been stung by lightning. One of the tricks of effective advertising is to identify the product with a highly desirable quality that has widespread appeal. If you buy this, you will have clear skin and become attractive to others. And more beautiful. Use this product and pretend that you too can be a farmer. Drive this car and appear liberated and adventurous, like these actors. Advertisements are nothing but bait, laid out for certain types of consumers.
For up to 14 times more volume.
These same methods are used to glorify the corporations who make these products. This is called corporate propaganda. For example, the General Electric Company likes to boast about its imagination at work, which includes money lending and manufacturing equipment for building missiles and other armaments. The truth is that corporations exist only to make money and are even legally compelled to prioritize making profits over competing interests, such as the well-being of consumers. And there is no such thing as enough profit for the capitalist. This is why they promote globalization, the new slogan for empire. It allows them to promote their symbols, also known as brands, by using slave labor in third world countries. These imperial brands are a symbol of value and meaning, like a flag. But their only allegiance is to profit, not country. Their goal? Maximum profit. Their target? Human beings.
인간들을 자기들 나라나 인민, 환경에는 어떤 피해가
Turn them into mindless consumers who crave their product and keep buying it at any cost to their country, fellow citizens, and the environment.
이것이다.
And for what? Look at the background of this commercial. This product is for those with money and high social standing, according to the image. This is how the bizarre need to appear superior to friends, fellow workers, and neighbors is mercilessly enlarged and exploited. But advertising is not just for adults. Propagandists spend $12 billion per year specifically targeting children to form consumer habits early on. They can ingrain their brand by repeating it over and over until the child is indoctrinated and manipulated beyond control.
Norman Feeney, Pepsi drinker for life.
By 18 months, babies in the West can tell the difference between brands. And by 2, they're asking for brand products by name. From the age of 7, the average child has seen 20,000 TV commercials every year. There is only one other group more coveted and groomed by advertisers than any other: preteen and teenage girls. The propagandists call this the tween market. But in fact, it is corporate pedophilia. The aim of corporate pedophilia is to make young people feel inferior and defective by using images that are unattainable. And these images are used against consumers for the rest of their lives to keep them feeling inadequate, unless they buy their products and stick with their brands. The fashion industry is the same. Wear this and you might fit in. Look like this and you will be attractive and popular, like the people in these gossip magazines. These people are called celebrities.
Where do we begin?
While it is natural for a person to become popular for being the best at what they do, today in the West, you are a celebrity if you simply appear on screen. Any screen, even by mistake. You gain credibility and praise for nothing. And the more you appear, the bigger a celebrity you become. If you become a big enough celebrity, then you become a brand to be sold and traded like any other product. Meet Miss Kim Kardashian. She is famous for owning some clothes shops and going shopping. She wears diamonds and fur because they are symbols of wealth in the West. And because she believes she is superior to other humans, she ignores the true cost of these luxuries. This celebrity is called Madonna. She recently started a trend of shopping for children in third world countries, which gained her enormous publicity. She could have adopted one of the millions of poor black children in America who have no home. But that would not have gotten her the attention she so desperately craves. Meet Mr. Tiger Woods, an athlete who has made millions of dollars from his image as an honest, dependable family man, even though the greedy golfer was also having sex with over a dozen waitresses, porn stars, and C-grade models at the same time. This is B-grade actor Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, seen here with his wife when he was re-elected as governor of California. Unlike the other B-grade actor who served as governor of California, this actor won't be president because he fathered a child with the family maid in their marital bed. These two actors are very big celebrities. Their names are Brad and Angelina, and their brand is Brangelina. They also shop for children in third world countries. Like other celebrities, they constantly complain about the media attention they get, even though they have entire teams of propagandists who alert the media each time they go shopping for children or purchase a coffee wearing the latest designer clothes. The truth is that celebrities like these are merely collaborators. Distraction techniques like television and celebrity magazines are the propagandist's best tools for keeping people from thinking and talking about important issues. Now, they have another.
게임 산업은
The games industry now generates more money than the film industry and has cemented the West as a culture of death, violence, and destruction.
이것은
This is Grand Theft Auto 4.
이 게임에서는
Here, you can kill anything that moves and have sex with prostitutes.
가능하다. 이 게임은
This game appeals so much to people, it sold $500 million worth of units in its first week of sale.
게임과 만화 영화는 폭력과 죽음의
Because gaming and animation desensitizes violence and death,
대부분이
much of the billions in military spending goes into recruiting young, poor, and uneducated people to fight their Fortune 500 wars using these same techniques.
싸우도록 한다.
Most serve 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year.
Hotel 26, crazy horse 18. Come on, fire! Hey, Roger. Come on, let us shoot. 1-8, okay, clear. Come on.
이 게임은 세계
This game is based on something called WWE, which stands for World Wrestling Entertainment. Extreme violence cheered on by Americans baying for blood. They know the names of each one of these actors, and yet they don't know where Britain is on the map, despite the efforts of the British to be their best friends.
85%의 미국 젊은이들은
85% of American young adults can't find Israel, Iraq, or Afghanistan on a world map. 30% of them can't find the Pacific Ocean on the map.
그리고 75%는
75% of them don't know the population of the US,
얼마인지도 모르고
and 11% of them can't even find it on a map.
어디에 있는지조차도 모른다. 이런 것이 물론
This is ideal, of course. Keep the masses ignorant and pacified on the couch. Distract them with violence, death, and the illusions of celebrity. Reduce resistance and thought. Make them choose the bland over the brilliant. The meaningless over the thoughtful. And dazzle them with trash.
그런 것 말이다.
This is now what people around the world accept as normal. This manufactured reality has become more real than this. 38 million homeless Americans. But the media doesn't want people to know about these Americans. Not unless they can be used for entertainment.
You want to be on top?
Meet Miss Tyra Banks, a former clothes model who now has a talk show where she pretends to be concerned about people's problems and society in general, even though she has no qualifications to do this.
And so,
here, she dresses up and pretends to be homeless in order to experience life on the streets, which is impossible because she owns numerous homes and great wealth.
청중들은 이 가식적 행태에
The audience doesn't question this charade,
대신 이것은 그녀가 자신의
but instead it willingly feeds into her need to talk about herself. Here we see America's Next Top Model, where everything is covered in her Tyra brand. Everyone has to shout and scream and appear delighted at the mere mention of her name. In this episode, she has the contestants made up to pose as blood-spattered and mangled corpses, while across the other side of the world, her fellow Americans were shooting, stabbing, and blowing up an estimated 1.8 million Iraqi civilians. Like most Americans, she doesn't know or care about these numbers. She is concerned only about a life of style over substance.
관심이 있을 뿐이다. 역사적으로 볼 때
There are now more propaganda-filled screens and magazines than at any other time in history. And these are controlled by just 5 giant media companies.
이런 사실이
This creates more opportunities to distract people from what really matters.
더 많은 기회들을 만들어낸다.
More opportunities to brainwash them. More opportunities to sell them poisoned food and drugs they don't need.
더 많은 기회.
More opportunities to drip-feed them a meaningless, distorted reality.
지금 보시는 거는
No, this is not a Hollywood blockbuster. The planes crashing into these towers are real, and these buildings crashed to the ground, including one that wasn't hit by anything at all. The American population was terrorized, hypnotized, and traumatized by repetitive showings of the devastation, with the media repeating over and over that it was a terrorist attack. However, 11 years after that day, it seems certain that everything was staged like a Hollywood blockbuster. Logic, physics, and history point to this incident being another false flag operation, like the bombing of the German Reichstag, Pearl Harbor, and the Gulf of Tonkin incident. And polls in the US confirm this. 87% of Americans now believe that 9/11 was a contrived pretext for an endless war on terror and the opportunity to remove their democratic rights and liberties.
One by one, the terrorists are learning the meaning of American justice.
But the real threat to Americans is not terrorism.
2001년부터 2009년 사이
Between 2001 and 2009, the number of deaths from terrorism in America stood at 3,000. In the same period, there were 192,000 deaths by homicide, 204,000 drunk driving, 360,000 suicide, 456,000 second-hand smoke, 873,780 diabetes, 4,622,268 cancer, 5,304,000 smoking-related, 6,238,284 heart disease.
Today our nation saw evil.
We will not rest until this evil is driven from our world.
그렇지만 그들의
But
지도자들은
their leaders focus only on the phantom dangers of terrorism, while allowing food and drug companies to make more and more poisonous food that is killing its people like an internal, unspoken genocide.
무형의 위험에 초점을 맞추고 있다. 이들은 심지어
They even protect these killer companies. Cigarettes, for example, are the only consumer product that doesn't have to list its ingredients on the packet.
소비 제품이다. 공평하게 말하자면
To be fair, it would be difficult to fit the names of 2,000 poisons on such a small box.
어려운 일일 수도 있겠다. 우리가 여기서 다시
Here
한번
we are reminded that wars are not fought for flags and citizens,
위하여 싸우는 것이 아니라 기업을
but
위해서
for corporations.
미국의 프로파간디스트들에 의해서
The war on terror, engineered by American propagandists to frighten and control their people,
테러와의 전쟁 이기는 것이
is impossible to win, but
영원히
endlessly
이익을
profitable.
창출하는 어떤 똑똑한
I'll be
사람이
long gone before some smart person ever figures out what happened inside this Oval Office.
잊혀져 버릴 것이다.
George W. Bush,